Good morning and happy Valentine's Day. Thank you to each and every one of you for being with us this morning. With that, I'd like to call this meeting of the Pinellas County School Board, February 14th, 2023 to order. Today marks 5 years since the tragedy at Medrey Stoneman Douglas. In lieu of an invocation, we will take a moment of silent reflection to honor those who lost loved ones and were directly impacted by this tragedy. This will be followed by the presentation of colors by the Northeast High School JROTC under the direction of First Sergeant Joseph Walker, the Pledge of Allegiance led by Vice Chair Laura Hine, and the National Anthem sung by the Northeast High School's Valhalla Choir under the direction of Scott Breckentrip. Please stand and remain standing until the colors have been retired and the color guard has exited the conference hall. Please join me in a moment of silence.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. You may be seated. Mr. Breckentrip, would you please introduce our second song by these wonderful students?
Yes, good morning. I'm Dr. Scott Tripp, Director of Vocal and Piano Studies at Northeast High School, and these are the Valhalla Singers representing Northeast High School. So our next song will be a Spanish folk song, El Vito, arranged by Emily Crocker. And I nearly forgot to introduce our wonderful pianist, Mr. Vince Titara. Thank you, Mr. Titara.
Thank you so much to the Valhalla Choir from Northeast High School. Thank you so much. Under the direction of Scott Breckentrick, we give them another round of applause. It was fantastic. I'd also like to say a nice warm thank you to Mr. Vince Tatara for that beautiful piano playing and for giving us some beautiful music as we walked in this morning. So give him a round of applause as well. Thank you. Also, thank you to the color guard for being with us this morning. I know they exited, but we thank them as well. Job well done. With that, now I'd like to introduce today's video about an award-winning Pinellas Technical College graduate who returned to PTC to visit with our current students. Let's take a look.
So if you enjoy working with your hands and problem solving, you'll enjoy the Diesel program. Yeah, I never thought I'd be back talking to students about the career that I had chosen. The passion that I guess I have for my career is hopefully going to spread to other people and they'll become passionate about it. If you're safe, you go home with all these every day. It was a good day.
It's pretty nice because we've had a lot of job offers and everything from companies coming in and giving similar presentations, but it's nice to hear from an alumni of the program to see what it's actually like in the field for us.
It's pretty cool to have people, looking to you for advice and information and being able to teach them and pass on information that I have or that I know.
It was great hearing that the class that I'm in the middle of taking right now can move me to a point in my career where I'm eligible to be nominated for an award such of that standpoint, and also finding out that there's great job opportunities that come with taking the class.
From where they are, from where I started, I'd say they're a lot further ahead. It's like an ultimate puzzle, and then it's a great feeling to see something that wasn't running before. After you make the repair and verify that the repair did fix it, it is awesome to see it back on the road.
It inspires me to get my ASE certifications. He's made it pretty obvious that it's very important for him, and it's I suppose a benchmark for success in the industry.
It inspires me to know that I have somewhere bright in my future to go towards, knowing that I have great opportunities coming my way.
Thank you very much. It's fantastic. I would now like to introduce our Public Informations Officer, Isabella Mascarenas, who will introduce our professional and community organizations that are present this morning, as well as our students from Students' Rights and Responsibilities, who are here to give us an update about Northeast High School. Ms. Mascarenas.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board, Mr. Hendrick, and staff. It is my pleasure to introduce the following representatives of community and professional organizations. From the Pinellas Classroom Teachers Association, we have Nancy Velarde, President. Representing the SEIU and the Florida Public Services Union, we have Talmadge Andrews. From the Pinellas Arts for a Complete Education Coalition, we have Linda Lerner. Members of the media in attendance include the Tampa Bay Times, Jeff Solachek and Dirk Schad, and also from WUSF, Carrie Sheridan. Today we have a presentation from the Students' Rights and Responsibility Committee. Please welcome students Maddox Scott and Jason Bernard from Northeast High School and their principal, Michael Hernandez.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
My name is Max Scott, and I'm currently a senior enrolled in Northeast High School's Academy of Finance. I'm the president of Northeast Student Government this year and was junior class president last year. As well, I was a former CEO of our virtual enterprise firm and an active member of FBLA. I was voted on to homecoming court this year, and I've been an active member of Northeast soccer and tennis team for multiple years. I've been able to take quite rigorous coursework, including AP and dual enrollment college level classes, and I've grown very close to many students, teachers, and staff members over the years. I genuinely believe I could not have chosen a better high school. After graduation, I plan on studying marketing at Florida State University. I am extremely grateful for the impact I've been able to make on Northeast and the help and support that everyone at our school has provided along the way. It is my pleasure to share with you some of the great academic achievements at Northeast that helped to meet the vision of 100% student success. The class of 2022 posted a 94% graduation rate. Northeast has maintained a 90% or better graduation rate over the past 5 years. Students annually complete more than 10,000 volunteer hours to qualify for Florida's Bright Future Scholarship. Our automotive and culinary programs both have established partnerships with Pinellas Technical College to offer dual enrollment opportunities on our campus. 19 varsity teams have qualified for FHSAA academic recognition, earning a minimal of a 3.0 GPA. Boys bowling and girls golf were awarded FHSAA state academic team champions for their teams having the highest GPA in the entire state of Florida. In 2022, our softball team were district champions and our boys soccer team were district runner-ups. We had state qualifiers in swimming, diving, golf, cross-country, bowling, football, and track and field. Our performing arts scholars have earned superior and excellent ratings in competition, while our art students have had their work displayed in the Dolly Museum and Dunedin Fine Arts Center. Our chess team continues to flourish with matches around our county, country, and world, including Harvard University, teams in South Africa, Argentina, and Great Britain. And recently, our first ever undefeated women's wrestler became a district champion and a PCCA champion. Thank you. Now I will turn it over to Jason to share points of pride.
Thank you, Max. Good morning. I hope you are all doing well. My name is Jason Bernard, and I have had the honor of attending Northeast High School for the past 3.5 years. Throughout this time, I have found myself in many leadership roles, including senior class president, vice president of Key Club, treasurer of the National Honor Society, and captain of the lacrosse team. Additionally, I have taken part in many other clubs and maintained a grade point average of 4.3. If it weren't for the opportunities made available to me through Northeast, I would not be the person I am today. Being enrolled in the Finance Academy helped me discover my love for business, which is what I plan on majoring in at Florida State University. Access to the finance program provided me with connections and knowledge that I will use for the rest of my life. I owe so much of my success to my teachers, administration, and friends. The environment they have created makes me proud to be a Viking. It is my pleasure to share some of our points of pride. Northeast is a national demonstration AVID school, placing it in the top 1% over all 5,000 schools that offer AVID nationwide. AVID systems of college readiness prepares students in the academic middle of college and ensures a school-wide college-going culture. Northeast was validated this school year as a national demonstration AVID school. The Academy of Finance is one of just 4 programs nationwide to earn a Model Academy status 12 years in a row. From the National Academy Foundation, AOF has been nominated for the last 13 straight years for this award. AOF is one of Pinellas County's programs of distinction, the highest honor possible for academics. Students competing in Future Business Leaders of America, Skills USA, National Scholastic Art, and multiple performing arts organizations have won titles through academic competitions. Local business annually support Northeast with over 20,000 volunteer hours. This includes partnerships with Achieva Credit Union, Dell, Pinellas Technical College, and Raymond James, to name a few. Mr. Will White has been named Pinellas County Coach of the Year in Boys Bowling 2022. Our school has spirit, a positive culture, and pride. Northeast has been recognized by the state of Florida as a bronze and gold level winner for PBIS model schools. We believe all students can succeed with the 3 A's: outstanding attendance, a positive attitude, and a hunger for achievement. As Vikings, we build strong ships: scholarship, relationships, leaderships, partnership, citizenship, and sportsmanship, and we embody these in all we do. Once a Viking, always a Viking. Thank you for your leadership and support.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It was a great presentation. I'd like to thank the school staff as well for being here. Thank you very much. As we begin the business portion of our meeting, please let the notes reflect that Board Member Long will not be present today. All votes today will reflect 6 members of the board. Mr. Hendrick, are there any recommended amendments to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair, there is one recommended amendment. Item 7.2, which were the minutes for the school board meeting on January 24th, have been amended.
Are there any other recommended changes? Seeing none. Thank you. As board chair, I find good cause to amend the agenda as described by Superintendent Hendrick. May I have a motion to adopt the agenda as amended? All right, we have a motion by Mrs. Hine. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second by Mrs. Cook. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries 6-0. With that, we will begin our special order of agenda. May I have a motion to approve item 4.1, the proclamation for Career and Technical Education Month, February 2023. I have a motion by Ms. Meyer.
Second.
And a second by Ms. Edmond. Mr. Hendrick, will you please introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's great today to recognize Career Technical Education Month, and I want to thank all of our students and faculty sponsors who came out this morning about 2 hours ago to set up their displays and give the public an opportunity to see all that we have to offer in career technical education. So I'd like to call our Executive Director of Career Technical and Adult Education, Mr. Mark Hunt, to give us more information about this proclamation.
Good morning, Mrs. Kane, board members, Mr. Hendrick, and staff. It's a great pleasure to be here at the first meeting in February and take over the boardroom with CTE. Today is a proclamation for Career and Technical Education Month. And as you saw this morning, with the showcase downstairs, we have a lot to offer our students across the district. And I'd like to take a minute to thank all of the teachers and the students that came out early this morning. And I'd like for you to all just stand up for 1 second and take a bow. Thank you. Come on, stand up, CTE, let's go. There you go. All right, very good. They all didn't stand up, but that's okay. Everyone needs a career that will provide resources for home, food, and security. The path to a career begins in elementary school, where each of our 5th grade students attend the Enterprise Village, where they learn about the economic system and they apply those principles in working and running businesses in the village. This exploration continues in middle school, where students begin to develop new career goals and establish a career identity, what they want to be when they want to grow up. Career academies in middle and high school connect student interest to academics through embedding the academy theme throughout their day. You heard a little bit about that with Northeast Academy of Finance. Academy themes such as aerospace, health occupations, automotive technology, and advanced information technology create a sense of belonging and ownership to each individual's learning. Our data proves that students who are involved in academies have a higher attendance rate, higher GPA, and a higher graduation rate than their peers who are not involved in something. Last year, CTE students earned 10,853 industry certifications, which not only document their technical proficiency, but also articulate for college credit. Talk about building college credit. Currently, there are 859 high school students dual enrolled with Pinellas Technical College, with many being able to complete their college program before high school graduation. This year, over 1,000 CTE students will participate in technical skill and leadership competitions through career and technical student organizations such as Skills USA, Future Business Leaders of America, and the Health Occupation Student Association. These competitions afford students the opportunity to demonstrate proficiency in technical skills and leadership qualities and on the state and national stage. Last summer, over 150 high school students participated in internships with a wide variety of workplaces such as bank tellers, IT support, construction trades helpers, teacher assistants, and healthcare assistants. The career goals that students set lead to a variety of post-secondary pursuits. On April 20th, we will celebrate National Technical Signing Day, where high school students and their parents will commit to attending Pinellas Technical College next year to continue the path to achieve their career goals. Technical colleges, state colleges, and universities play critical roles in the highly technical marketplace, and our students are prepared to meet this challenge through internships, industry certifications, career dual enrollment, and a well-defined education plan. And I thank you for considering our proclamation this morning.
Thank you so much. Mrs. Cook, could you read the proclamation?
Love to. Thank you. Proclamation for Career and Technical Education Month. Whereas profound economic and technological changes in our society are rapidly reflected in the structure and nature of work, placing new and additional responsibilities on our education system. And whereas the efforts of the career and technical educators with business and industry stimulate the growth and vitality of our local economy and of the entire nation by preparing graduates for careers that are forecast to experience the largest and fastest growth in the next decade. And whereas career and technical education serves as the backbone of a strong, well-educated workforce and contributes to America's leadership in the international marketplace. And whereas career and technical education provides Floridians with a school-to-careers connection, helping students experience practical and meaningful applications of a number of skills. And whereas there are nearly 30,000 high school students in the district, with as many as 25,000 enrolled in at least one course under the umbrella of career and technical education, while Pinellas Technical College boasts an enrollment of 3,162 students in certificate and apprenticeship programs, including the 746 dual-enrolled high school students. And whereas the district offers 116 programs of study in our secondary and post-secondary schools, which offer students career pathways, opportunities leading to high-skill, high-wage, high-demand careers. And whereas there are 49 registered high school career and professional education academies and 15 registered middle school CAPE academies in the district. And whereas elementary, middle, and high school students earned 10,853 industry certifications, and 74% of post-secondary students earned industry certifications. And whereas career and technical educations offer individuals lifelong opportunities to learn new skills, providing career choices and potential satisfaction. Now, therefore, the School Board of Pinellas County does hereby recognize February 2023 as Career and Technical Education Month, signed this 14th day of February 2023.
Very much. Is there any discussion from the board? Seeing none, we have a motion on the floor and a second to approve item 4.1, the proclamation for Career Technical Education Month, February 2023. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? With none, the motion to approve item 4.1, the proclamation for Career Technical Education Month, February 2023, passes 6-0. We will now hear of item 4.2, the recognition of career academies earning Academy of Distinction designation by the Stavros Career Education Board. Mr. Hendrick, will you please introduce the item? And board members, we are going to go down for photos with the honorees for the next two items.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it is my pleasure to introduce again the Executive Director of Career Technical Education and Adult Education, Mr. Mark Hunt, as well as Josh Baumstein, the President of Creative Contractors, and they're going to share a little bit about the Stavros Career Education Board, share the members that are here with us today on the Stavros Board, as well as honor 5 distinguished academies who, of those 49 CAPE academies you just heard about, have risen above with great distinction and being honored today. Mr. Hunt?
Thank you, Mr. Hendrick. You know, in the spirit of Career and Technical Education Month and the wonderful CTE program showcase you all saw this morning, it's with great pride that we recognize 5 of our outstanding career academies that are setting the bar for academy operation and student engagement. The partnership between the Career and Technical Education Department and the Pinellas Education Foundation Stavros Career Education Board is the model of a quality industry and education partnership that has been the catalyst for the success of the academies of Pinellas. This year has been one of re-energizing and rebranding the academies of Pinellas. And as part of that effort, we solicited the expertise of our academy students in the creation of a new Academies of Pinellas and Academies of Distinction logo you see on the banner before you. Later in this presentation, we will introduce you to the students that created that look for us. But now it gives me great pleasure to welcome members of the Stavros Career Education Board that are with us here this morning to celebrate our academies and to present the Academies of Distinction Awards. Mr. Josh Bromstein, the President of Creative Contractors and the Chair of the Stavros Career Education Board, is here with us to kick this off. Thank you, Josh.
I've served on this board for many years, and it's a really great honor to be here today to recognize, these high-performing academies. The Education Foundation, as you know, plays an integral role in providing teachers and students with the support they need to succeed academically from the earliest grades through graduation from high school. And we do this through many innovative programs, all geared towards driving our mission, which is accelerating educational achievement for all students. To that end, during the fall semester, 5 career academies were visited by our Stavros Career Education Board members, in addition to industry-specific special guests to review the career academies and determine if they should be recommended for 2 potential honors. The first level honor is the Academy of Distinction, which you probably are familiar with. The second level honor is new, and you may not be familiar with it, so I'm happy to tell you what it is. It is the DITEC Distinguished Honor. Each honor will provide monetary gifts to the academy, as well as the pride for having a top-performing career academy in the district. Academies of distinction receive $4,000 for their program, and academies that also receive the DITEC Distinguished Honor will receive an additional $3,000. The 5 academies that were visited were first reviewed by Mark and the district CTE team through the Academies of Pinellas Annual Survey rubric, and were determined to be ready for an Academy of Distinction review by the Stavros Career Ed Board. The guests spent over 3 hours at each school, meeting with school leaders, district leaders, academy leaders, teachers, students, and advisory board members. They met with each category group and had the opportunity to ask questions related to the review criteria and the data provided in the rubric. In addition, the guests visited classrooms, were able to talk to students and teachers in the academy classes, and after their visit, the review committee made a recommendation for these awards to the full Stavros Career Ed Board. The Stavros Career Ed Board voted on the recommendations of the site visit guests in December, and very happy to share those results today. And when we announce the schools, I'd like to invite Melissa Lostraglio from DITEC, hopefully she's here, and my fellow Stavros Career Ed Board members to join us for pictures with representatives from the schools in attendance.
Our first honoree this morning is the Game and Simulation Academy at Richard O. Jacobson Technical High School. And here to receive the award this morning is the proud principal of Jacobson High School, Mr. Josh Wolfenden. That's all right. That's all right. Go ahead. Go ahead. Right up front, we've got the proverbial big check for you. Great. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Mr. Wolfenden. And the next academy you've already heard about this morning, and that would be the Academy of Finance at Northeast High School. And Mr. Hernandez is still with us this morning, so we'd like to have Mr. Hernandez, and I know he has a number of teachers with him from that academy. Please come up front. Congratulations. Going to have to use the wide angle lens on this one. Great. Congratulations. Next up is the Center for Culinary Arts at Osceola Fundamental High School. And here this morning is their principal, Mr. Mike Bonet, and several of the culinary instructors. Welcome. In addition to the monetary award, each of the academies will take home the banner that you saw out in the lobby to commemorate the event. Congratulations. For our fourth recognition is the Institute for Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics, or iSTEM Academy at Countryside High School. And with us this morning is their principal, Mr. Taylor Henderson. And, oh, there he is. There's Mr. Bernstein, the assistant principal, Brad Bernstein. Congratulations. And teachers and students from the academy. Get the students involved in that. There you go. They're the ones that do all the work. Congratulations. And last but certainly not least, for this year, our fifth honoree is the Center for Wellness and Medical Professions at Palm Harbor University High School. And with us this morning is their principal, Ms. Teresa Patterson, along with, I believe, Ms. Kelly Webb and a number of other teachers. Please come on up front. And students as well. All right, congratulations, Ron. And now we'd like to recognize the students that created our new look. And these two students are both from Eastlake High School. And we have with us this morning Addison Keys and Alyssa Steiner. And I believe their parents are with them. You all are welcome to get in the picture if you'd like. Good job. Those logos will be used in association with the Academies of Pinellas and the Academies of Distinction for quite some time. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt, and to the members of our Stavros Career Education Board and all of the students, teachers, parents, administrators that are here today to celebrate Career Technical Education Month. We do have one more proclamation, but it's not career tech related. So if there are folks who need to get back to school, feel free. Now's a good time. You're certainly welcome to stay for the rest of the meeting, but we also know that many of you need to return to school. And so we'll give you just a second to do that. So our final special order recognition item today is a recognition of the 2022 Energy Star certified buildings. I'm going to pass it to our Associate Superintendent for Operations, Mr. Herbeck, to share a little bit more and invite our guests.
Thank you, Mr. Hendrick, and Madam Chair and board members. We're very proud to bring this recognition to you today. We have two recognitions with the Energy Star program that we apply for. The one of them is it's called the Partner of the Year Award, and it's a district award that we've won for 4 consecutive years. We have very high hopes that we're going to be bringing you a 5th recognition very soon. But as you know, we can't win a district award without the support of our schools and without all the work that goes on in our schools. So this particular recognition today from Energy Star is for the work that takes place in each of our schools every day. And we're very proud to have to share with you today that 58 of our schools have been recognized as certified buildings with the EPA and through the Energy Star program. And to share some more information about that, and also to say thank you to Synergistic, our partner in this endeavor. Synergistic fills out all of the applications for us. They put in countless hours in order for us to be able to apply for this award and the Partner of the Year. But I'd like to bring Mr. Steve Jones from Synergistic to the lectern to share some words.
Thank you, Clint. Good morning, Madam Chair, Superintendent, ladies of the board, and also who are not here to the, I think it's 97,000 plus or minus students you have, over 7,000 employees within the district, because what we're here to talk about today is not a Synergistic award. It is a Pinellas County School District award, and we couldn't do it without you. Cindy's going to come up here and kind of give you the details, but I just kind of want to reiterate our commitment to the district. We've been partners with the district for about 6 years, going on 7, and to be honest with you, this is the flagship district when we talk about energy sustainability throughout the country, and I mean that sincerely. We don't do business with every district in America. We're as picky about who we do business with as who you do business with, but we're very proud of what we've done here and what y'all have allowed us to do. Talking about the Partner of the Year award, yes, we have 4. The district has 4, working on 5. What that means is that the Department of Energy has selected this district 4 years in a row to be in an elite group of 150 organizations throughout the country for Partner of the Year. And last year when we did this, I talked a little bit about some of the company you're in. We're talking about General Motors. We're talking about Best Buy. We're talking about Xerox. We're talking about MetLife. We're talking about organizations that exemplify success, and this district is in that group. I think that's amazing. J.P. Morgan, the American financier, said how do you define success? Is to have a plan, dedicate to the plan, strong leadership, and celebrate successes. And that's what we're here to do, is to celebrate these successes. So I'm going to turn it over to Cindy. I'm the lucky guy that gets to come in and say a few words, but these are the people that do it in conjunction with your district. So thank you, Cindy.
Thanks, Steve. Good morning. I'm very excited to be here today with my team of energy specialists. Behind me, we have Jennifer Cumberbatch, Sam Harris, and Carlos Rodriguez. We really do this as a team, and we're here today to present to you notification of the 58 Energy Star certified buildings. This is a significant award because it's a national award. It's national recognition by the Environmental Protection Agency. It also is significant because this award really highlights the financial and environmental stewardship of the school district, as 35 on average. An Energy Star certified building is 35% more energy efficient than its other peer buildings. That means 35% less expensive and 35% less gas emissions. And I think most significantly, this award really demonstrates each individual that touches a school building. It shows really the sustainability culture that the school district has employed us to kind of come in here and cultivate for you all. So again, we're very excited to present these 58 Energy Star building certifications. My company, Synergistic, is also providing 58 plaques, crystal plaques, to each individual school that has been awarded. And finally, just thank you again on behalf of the Environmental Protection Agency and Synergistic. Thank you for thinking and caring about the future.
Thank you.
Can we join y'all for a picture?
Yes. Thank you so much, and congratulations to our 58 schools. So those 58 schools are listed in the agenda, and our board will now come back up for the next portion of our meeting.
Superintendent, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Herbig, Mr. Hunt, for all of those presentations. And we are going to move on to the public comments on agenda items for this meeting. Members of the public have 3 separate opportunities to address the board when we gather for a business meeting. The first is public comment on agenda items. The second is at public hearings, most of which are policies. And the last is after our meeting when speakers may address the general business of the district. At each opportunity for public input, board members are here to listen to you. This is not a time for interaction, but the board will take your comments into consideration before it votes on agenda items. The board is committed to a standard of civility and decorum in conducting our meetings. We appreciate you assisting us in maintaining a civil and constructive environment. Lastly, please note that this meeting and all public comments will be broadcast live on the internet, and the video will be publicly archived. Members of the public may always communicate with the board through our email address, board@pcsb.org, or by calling the board office at 588-6300. Thank you. Mrs. Hauk, are there any speakers to agenda items?
Yes, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Hendrick, we have 1 speaker for agenda items. Mr. Mark Clutho is speaking to items 7.6, 7.12, and 7.15.
Mark Clutho, Largo. 7.6, you're talking about hardening. Well, you know what comes to my mind when I hear hardening? I think of making a building such that it will stand up to the bad weather. Your strategic direction here says student achievement. I don't know how that figures. And you say physical safety, security of school buildings. Oh, well. 7.12, strategic direction, effective and efficient use of resources. Well, you're not doing that with any of your buildings. Regardless of what you say, you're lying. Flat out lying. This is $3 million for this project. 715 Mildred Helms, you know, that's where my wife used to teach. Yeah, when they moved her into that new building on the campus, she cried. It was supposed to be a prototype of sorts. But you always use this effective and efficient use of resources in your strategic direction. But here's the headline: study, climate change is worse than we thought. Isn't that something when we have this headline, key warming threshold may be reached by 2050? How's that going to affect the students that you have now? Yeah. The world faces a significant risk of passing a crucial global warming threshold earlier than scientists had suggested, possibly as soon as 2050, a paper published Monday found. This was printed January 31st. I'll tell you, it's a doggone shame.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers?
Madam Chair, we have no more speakers for agenda items.
Seeing no more speakers and we have no unfinished business on the agenda, we are going to move to our consent agenda.
Move approval of the consent agenda.
I have moving for approval for the consent agenda.
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Hine. All in favor of the consent agenda, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None opposed. It carries 6-0. All right. Moving to non-consent, may I have a motion to approve item 8.1, the request approval of bids for healthcare instruction simulator and patient care simulator warranties.
Motion to approve?
I have a motion to approve by Ms. Meyer.
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Cook. Mr. Hendrick, can you please introduce the item?
Thank you, Madam Chair. In keeping with our theme of Career Technical Education Month, we wanted to highlight a couple of the opportunities for our students in our schools, and I'm going to call Mr. Mark Hunt back to the podium again, Executive Director of Career Technical Education, as well as Teresa Patterson, Principal from Palm Harbor University High School, who are going to share some of the opportunities that our students now have in our schools. Mr. Hunt?
Good morning again. The first item up for consideration is called the anatomage table. This is a human body simulator that we have already purchased at Pinellas Technical College, and we have some pictures from that device used at Pinellas Technical College with students. But essentially, this simulator provides students a realistic human body that they can study various human body systems, circulatory system, skeletal, muscular. They can pull these systems apart and look at them individually and study them. They can layer them on top of one another so that way they can see how they interact. There's the ability to view common ailments such as arthritis, coronary artery disease in the human body. They can even simulate dissection of a human body on this device. It can stand vertically or it can lay horizontally, so that way students can get the full view of what goes on. And with that, I'd like to have Ms. Patterson come up and share a little bit about how they're going to use this device at Palm Harbor University High School.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt. Good morning, Madam Chair, school board members, and Superintendent Hendrick and leadership. We are so grateful for the acquisition of this valuable tool. The Anatomage virtual dissection table, we believe, will have a far-reaching impact on our student achievement. They are as human and animal anatomy case studies that our students will be able to access. It will not just be our Center for Wellness and Medical Professions students, but all science teachers. We have a dedicated space, an inquiry lab in the back of our media center where students and teachers will be able to check out the facility and use this touchscreen dissection tool to enhance student experiences and achievement. We are really hopeful that this will extend past the impact of our campus to our community, and we're partnering with Palm Harbor Middle School to start a medical program there, and we envision field trips and vertical articulation from both schools. In summary, this is a med school level dissection lab that our students will get to experience on our campus, the first in Tampa Bay area, and I'm so grateful for this opportunity for our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
The other item before you this morning is a warranty for some high-fidelity patient care simulators that we already have in place at Pinellas Technical College. These simulators are used in our licensed practical nursing program, so that way students can practice patient care interaction with a life-size, full-weight, full-size simulator in a hospital bed, hospital room environment. The teacher will actually be able to control the inputs and feedback that students get from this simulator. Teacher would be stationed in a room adjacent to the hospital room, if you will, and the students would interact with the patient care simulator based on the chart of the student or the patient's issue. The teacher can make vital sign changes, breath sounds, various sorts of other kinds of body functions, if you will, that the students can interact with. They will learn how to read the EKG from the simulator, a variety of things, and it really helps students be able to practice interacting with a patient before they actually get into the hospital during their clinical experiences. These devices are very high fidelity. The warranty will help us keep them functional and current, so that way our students will be able to use them for many, many years. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Hunt, and also Ms. Patterson. We have discussion from the board. Ms. Edmond?
Thank you, Mr. Hunt and staff, for bringing this item forward on the non-consent. I think it's important for the public as well as board members to see the great things that are occurring at PTC. Having the opportunity to speak with students in our practical nursing program as well as see both simulations, I think it's invaluable that we have both. And seeing that expansion to high school and incorporations with middle school as well is vital. I hope to see it more South County, possibly a partnership with the South County medical program as well. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd also like to thank each of you for bringing forth this item. I think it's so important to note that we're one of the first in Tampa Bay to have a simulator like this. This brings us on the cutting edge of education and helps Pinellas County continue to push our students forward for the greater world of technical careers moving forward. They're going to have incredible experience and incredible resume to move forward with their careers in the future. And I'm so grateful to see programs like this continuing to blossom. And we really hope the community will continue to reach out, support these, and support the partnerships with the middle schoolers so that they can have the opportunity to look at careers and opportunities that they may not even know exist, and push for our future and pushing our students to become innovators. And I'm really excited to see programs like this coming into Pinellas County. So thank you so much for the work that was done to provide these simulators. And of course, we are very supportive of that. Is there any other discussion from board members and comments? No? All right. Well, thank you so very much. With that, we are going to, we have a motion to approve this item, request for the bids for healthcare instructor simulator and patient care simulator warranties. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? There is none, and the motion to approve item 8.1, approval of the bids for healthcare instruction simulator and the patient care simulator warranties, carries 6-0. Thank you so much. To new business, do we have any items introduced by the superintendent? Mr. Hendrick?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you, and members of the public and our board. Recently, much has been said about the policies of the board that were approved during the last board meeting regarding our instructional and controversial materials. I want to take just a minute today to address that. I want to also address the separate decision from those policies by the district administration to pull the book, The Bluest Eye, from our libraries. It's important to take a moment to clarify that decision. So first, it's important to know that that was a district decision, not the school board. The school board's vote on the policies and that decision happening at the same time were perhaps a bad coincidence, but nonetheless separate from one another. The board policies place the responsibility on district employees and our committees as it relates to controversial materials and instructional materials. The public discussion since that time has been robust, it's been healthy, and it's been welcome. Through these discussions, emails that we've received, conversations that have been had, media coverage, talk about freedom, talk about censorship, and much more, there's been one important part that has been left out of the discussion or certainly has not received enough attention, and that is the actual laws that the district applied in making the decision. There are a number of various relevant laws. First, Florida Statute 1006.40, which prohibits schools from using materials that are pornographic or harmful to minors, the latter of which excludes materials that, if taken as a whole, have serious literary value. The second important law recently enacted on January 18, 2023, is State Board Rule 6A-7.0715. This rule expands the scope of materials that should not be included in our schools. The training incorporated as part of this rule or law states that materials, which are neither pornographic nor harmful to minors, may still be inappropriate for students in schools, should err on the side of caution when applying these tests. The training, as an example, states that if you would not be comfortable reading the material aloud in a public meeting, you should err on the side of caution in not making that material available. We, like other districts, continue to seek clarity on these laws as they are new and sometimes conflicting. Ultimately, as a district, we have an obligation to follow the law. This is why we made the decision that we made to err on the side of caution. I encourage the public, as they have these conversations, to remember that the district must follow the law, remembering that the legislator makes the laws, not the board or its employees. With that said, Pinellas County Schools, we believe strongly in wide-ranging literature, reading across genres. We believe that diverse materials push the thinking as students are developed as well-rounded citizens. In fact, the law requires us to have diverse materials. We also trust our media specialists and our teachers to choose materials that are aligned to standards, that are age-appropriate and in compliance with the law. We believe in the parents' right to advocate for their children. And we do believe, as I've mentioned, in following the law. With this in mind, in the public discussion, we plan to bring a new process to our board for discussion at an upcoming workshop this spring that captures these ideals that we believe in, gives parents choice, and follows the law. As a school system, we are not alone in these discussions. In fact, if you followed the news, you recognize that all 67 districts across our state are also having similar conversations, navigating the new laws, and in similar places. And so I want to let our board know and the public know, as we look at some next steps, here's where we are as a district in following the law and the next steps that we will take. First, as has been mentioned, we are requiring all our media specialists, our principals, and appropriate district staff to take the new training. It's required to be done by the end of June. We're also in the process of beginning the inventory of our classroom libraries. Part of this new law required all classroom libraries from kindergarten through 12th grade to be cataloged and available to the public. We're talking hundreds of thousands of books, and that will take time, and we want to make sure the burden is not put on teachers unfairly to do this. We are gathering input from our media specialists on administrative procedures for books and libraries, and in fact, the law requires the media specialists to be the experts in this area. We are reviewing our processes, as I mentioned, with the board when books with concerns are raised, and as I said, we will bring an updated process to our board later this spring. And as we've done last summer and will continue to do this year, we will rely on our library media teams and assemble groups to look at those books. Last summer, we did so with nearly 100 books. I know that today we'll have some speakers around that, and I thought it was important for us as a school district to clarify what has happened and our process moving forward. So with that, I want to jump to some other items in our district that have happened recently, starting with our Evening of Excellence. I want to congratulate Mr. Adam Zale, math teacher at Azalea Middle, who was named last week as the school district's Teacher of the Year and will compete in the state's Teacher of the Year program. At the ceremony, we celebrated all 128 nominees and our amazing teachers throughout the district. Just a few weeks ago, our Boys Read Battle of the Book competition concluded with nearly 50 elementary schools participating in this year's Boys Read Battle, a 500% increase from previous years. I want to congratulate our 2023 winners, Ponce de Leon Elementary School, who won first place, Douglas Jamerson, who won second, and Gulfport Montessori, who took third. We also recently celebrated students in the Regional Braille Challenge. Pinellas County Schools students earned first place in every category they competed in at the Regional Braille Challenge. It is the only academic competition of its kind for students who are blind or visually impaired. We had winners from Lake St. George Elementary, Cross Bayou Elementary, Carwise Middle, Osceola Fundamental High School, and Pinellas Park High School. The students are ranked and judged with others across the country, and if they meet the qualifications, they'll compete in the national competition in June. Last week, it was my pleasure to oversee the Superintendent's Academic Challenge, which brings our academic teams from all 17 of our high schools together to compete here in this room and in this building. And I'm proud to say it was a great competition with St. Petersburg High School coming out as this year's champion, taking first place, Countryside High School earning second, and East Lake, Largo, Palm Harbor, and Tarpon Springs all making the finals as well. We select an all-star team from that challenge, the Superintendent's Academic Challenge, who then go on to compete in the Commissioner's Academic Challenge, which is later this semester in Orlando. The very first challenge happened in 1986. Pinellas County has been a sponsor of that event since its inception, and many of our teachers, both current and retired, participate in developing questions and serving as judges. I'd like to congratulate Yara Jones, a 7th grader at Morgan Fitzgerald Middle School, who was the district's 2023 Art in the Capital competition winner. She won the award for her beautiful painting entitled The Things I Love. Her artwork will be displayed in Tallahassee for this legislative session. I want to also congratulate her art teacher, Daniel Curvin. It's National Magnet Schools Month, many of which are career technical education programs, and we celebrated our magnet schools this month with winning 13 national awards from the prestigious Merit Awards of the Magnet Schools of America. That is the most as a district we've ever won. 2 of our schools earned the highest awards possible across the nation, Gulfport Montessori Elementary School and the Tarpon Springs High School Leadership Conservatory. Last week, we held our 3rd Student Leadership Summit. This one was for our middle schools. It was at USF St. Petersburg again. And again, it was met with great enthusiasm from our students, our principals, our teachers, parent chaperones. We look forward to our final summit next month for our high school students. This week at Palm Harbor University High School is Tampa Bay Innovation Week, or it is across Tampa Bay, and we're hosting at Palm Harbor a special preview event on Friday for the 2023 Next Gen Tech 360 competition. It is like a Shark Tank competition with students competing to win a $10,000 grant to help them launch their innovative projects. Students have been working with business mentors to develop their ideas, and we're proud to share that 3 of the 5 teams in the finals are from Palm Harbor University High School. The final round of competition will be at the University of Tampa in early April. Last week was National Signing Day for our student athletes across our district, and we had many, many students sign. It was my pleasure to attend at Lakewood High School, where 12 student athletes signed last Wednesday night, including a number of individuals everywhere from Ole Miss to the University of Virginia, community colleges, and everywhere in between. But I also want to recognize a Super Bowl champion whose dad was there. He's one of our coaches, Mr. Scantling for Lakewood High School, but Marquez Valdez-Scantling won the Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs on Sunday night. Proud Pinellas County Schools alumnus. And finally, as I do at each meeting, our superintendent standout this meeting is Mr. Brian Minking, who is a professional culinary arts and hospitality instructor at Pinellas Technical College in St. Petersburg. He has been with PTC St. Petersburg for 16 years and was recognized for his consummate professionalism and having the patience of a saint. He's always looking for ways to improve our students' experience and pushes the boundaries in our offerings for the students we serve. He leads the department by example and is a mentor to many. Congratulate Mr. Minkin on his recognition and the over 5,000 employees who have been recognized by their peers so far this year through our PCS praise. Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hendrick. Mr. Kapersky, are there any items introduced by the attorney?
No, there are not. Thank you.
There are no items. All right, and the school board members, are there any that wish to make some comments? Yes, Ms. Edmond.
Thank you very much. We just saw and heard from Mr. Hunt in the CTE program, and it's just absolutely amazing what's occurring in our adult education programs. I would like to request a workshop on our adult education programs, which includes additional information regarding enrollment, demographics, recruitment, and retention efforts, the past completion rates, enrollment trends, and predictions, as well as several other items. I have submitted this workshop request to Mr. Hendrick, and it's available from Ms. Hauk if board members would like to see all of the details with that request. So, do I have support in having a workshop on adult education?
I think, can the board members review what was sent in
Sure.
first, and then maybe we can decide at the workshop if we want to?
In the past, we have been able to make requests
Right.
from here.
All right.
So,
So board members, do you want to?
and Mrs. Hauk has that information for you. Or I can just read all the detail.
All right.
So how do we want to do it?
Do we have a, yes, Mrs. Cook?
I would rather have an opportunity to look at it, and then during our leadership discussion next week, say, yes, no, it's not going to be on next week's agenda anyway, so we're not losing any time.
Correct.
But it would give us an opportunity to look at it.
So while I am at it, I also have workshop topic requests for the transformation zone. And that includes the staffing models, recruitment and retention efforts, current vacancies, PM1 and PM data for each school, ESE data, tiered support and outcomes. And you'll receive the details from that as well. Also, ESE workshop topic requests, which includes the most recent data regarding students that have been identified as ESE, the past 5 years of how many students have been labeled and their demographics, the identification process and procedures in place to prevent over-identification, as well as district insurance of compliance and other items. And then my fourth board workshop request will be educational alternative services. And I'm requesting information regarding the staffing models, recruitment and retention efforts, current vacancies, PM1, PM2 data, ESE data, tiered support outcomes, and additional information that you all will have the opportunity to review. I also just want to clarify that since just right now, I made a board workshop topic request, so from here on out, if there are any board topic workshop requests, we need to have discussion regarding them. Just making sure we're following our own procedure.
Right, and I believe the procedure is to have consensus at a workshop during leadership discussion with the information that we're provided on the request. So I think what we need to do is disseminate the request information so board members can take a look, and next week at the workshop, we can discuss consensus on whether we want to move forward with the request.
So we've already talked about that occurring. What I just want to make sure happen is that no one else has a request that they bring up at this body of meeting and it doesn't follow the process that we've talked about following.
Right, right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And then, so that information will be provided to y'all. And then I have some questions that I would like to direct to Mr. Kapersky, just to clarify some things that we received emails about. Mr. Kapersky, can you explain what's the district role as it relates to policies that are in place?
The superintendent is your chief executive and administrative officer. The school board adopts the policies, and the superintendent and his staff have to implement those policies. That's a very high-level answer. I can give you more specifics if you...
Yes, would you please provide a little bit more detail?
Regarding
the bluest eyes, there have been some concerns about the district not following its own policy and to make the superintendent follow the policy. So I think it's important for people to receive some clarification on that.
Sure, sure. And I know Mr. Hendrick, in his presentation, did a very good job of reciting the law. And I will probably repeat some of that, but where we are right now in the state of Florida in this environment, we have always had, and if you don't mind, Mrs. Edmond, I'll give a little bit of a background and then get to your question there. But we've always had statutes that related to instructional materials. And so one of those statutes mentioned by Mr. Hendrick, section 1006.40, has always said you may not have materials that are pornographic or harmful to minors in your schools. That same statute also says that the materials need to be age appropriate. And so we have been following that for years, if not decades. And so what is new in the state of Florida, starting with the last legislative session, HB 1467 was passed and added some additional duties and obligations of school district staff with respect to instructional materials. And specifically, some of the ones that are relevant here are that every certified educational media specialist, we call them library media technology specialists or LMTSs, they have to undergo a training that was created by the DOE. And that training needs to be completed by July 1st. And I know that you've heard from Mr. Hendrick and Dr. Evans that people are in the process of taking those. And the staff that needs to take those are going to have that done well before July, probably in the next month or so. The law also had other provisions, but the main one for our purpose here today, and I probably think what most people are here to talk about, relates to this training and our application of that to the Bluest Eye and potentially to future other titles. So the DOE had to create this training. The DOE also implemented a rule, sort of like your school board policies. That's a rule of the school board, but a state agency creates a rule. They go through rulemaking authority, through public meetings, public comment, just like you have with your policies. And on January 24th, the State Board of Education adopted Rules 6A-7.0715. That rule talked about the training, but it also did something that the state board rarely does, and that incorporated by reference the actual training that people are to take. So it's not uncommon over years that we have legislation passed. The legislation says the Department of Education will create implementing regulations or rules, and then they do so, and we follow those. And then DOE staff will create a PowerPoint or maybe go out and submit training, and the training is given to everybody in the state who would like to receive it. What's unique here is in this rule, the State Board of Education incorporated by reference the 40-slide deck into that, and then there is spoken word over that, which is also part of the training. So, as Mr. Hendrick stated in his presentation, this state board rule with the training and what's stated in the training now has the force of law. Whereas in prior years, you might say, well, that's an employee of the DOE who did a training in Orlando and we heard it, but we're not sure what it means, but we're just going to look and implement the rule and the statute in our own district. What's different here is this now has the force of law, right? And so we need to follow the law, and as you've heard before, the training and what's stated in the training says you need to err on the side of caution. They gave the example of it being read at a public meeting. So I do believe that the DOE action has expanded the statute and the rule itself. So the training expands now what the existing law was, let's say last year. You couldn't have materials that were pornographic or harmful to minors, and those are defined. The training now says, in addition to materials that are pornographic or harmful to minors, you might have other materials that are inappropriate for students. So it's almost as if it's creating a third category, and then it's defining that through an example of reading materials aloud at a public meeting. And so we now have to follow that because, as I said, that has the force of law at this point. And so we are now, and I have been in frequent contact with Mr. Hendrick and his staff about the application of this, but we are now having to apply this new law, and I say it's a new law, but the new interpretation of the law by the DOE, which has the force of law, we've got to apply that in our district like we haven't had to do in the past years. So people may disagree with the state board's action, but that is irrelevant to our duty to follow it. And so for those of you who've been on the board for a couple of years, we've seen this movie before, right? We have had state board rules, we've had executive orders, we've had emergency orders during the pandemic. And my advice now is what it was then, that we should follow those dictates of law, because those are all, in a generic sense, law. And so we need to follow that law unless and until it is changed by the state board or it's overruled in a court of law. And so with that sort of a little bit more fleshing out of some of the comments that Mr. Hendrick made, getting to your point, now the implementation of that law by the superintendent and his staff, that does contain some discretion, because still this is somewhat ambiguous, if not very ambiguous, and so there is room for interpretation. And one district may say that this title should be removed, and another district may say that it should not be removed. So there is some implementation, but I have advised the superintendent and his staff to follow the law that says to err on the side of caution, and to use the examples that are given in the state board training, since that has the force of law. So to the question and the statement that has been made, the allegation that somehow the district or the school board is not following its own procedures, I would disagree with that statement, and here's why. You did adopt a policy, and most of this portion of the policy that is at issue here was not really even changed by the school board in January at the second reading. So what the policy says in policy 2510 is that if a parent or a resident of the county would like to formally challenge a title in a library in one of our schools, they may fill out a form and go through a process to challenge that. So you can see here, I'm a visual person and I don't get to do too much of that up here, but you can see that the policy here talks about that. So you fill out the form, and then there are committees that meet. So in the case of the Bluest Eye, the person who challenged it was offered the opportunity to fill out the form, and she declined. Therefore, the rest of the policy did not become implicated, and those committees did not meet. And so where does that leave us then? Does that mean that there can never be a review of those materials? And I say no, because the administration, both school-based and district-based, has the power and I believe the duty, as reinforced by the recent changes to the law, the power and the duty to make sure that materials in our schools comply with the law. And so if somebody doesn't fill the form out, does that mean that the district, a principal or Dr. Evans or somebody else in the district cannot review the materials to make sure they are compliant with the law? Of course not. If a form is not completed, the district still has the obligation to make sure the law is followed. And so I've been following some of the public debate on this, and I just disagree with the assertion that the policy was not followed. Now, Mr. Hendrick, and I heard him say that he's going to be coming forward at a future workshop with some recommendations for you. He may have different ways of handling how he takes care of issues where the formal process is not followed. But until that time, and even after that time, he still has the obligation to make sure that the materials in the school are compliant with the law.
Thank you, Mr. Kopersky, for providing additional information and context regarding what occurred with the Bluest Eyes and moving forward. It's appreciated, because sometimes you have to hear it twice, maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times, because I do know that Dr. Evans, when he was providing his explanation of the removal of Bluest Eyes, he shared some of the things that both Mr. Hendrick and you mentioned today. So I believe in making it plain, and I think you made it very clear today, as well as incorporated some of the feedback that we've seen in the media. So thank you very much for that. As my last comment for now, so today is Valentine's Day, and we as a district have made a proclamation to celebrate Black History Month. As I've visited schools and spoken to some people, there still remains concerns about what they can do within our schools and if it's breaking the law. And I think it's important to make sure that we understand, as well as our staff understand, that Black history should be taught. So I look forward to continuing to visit schools and looking for evidence, as well as being a part of the Black History Month celebrations that occur not only this month, but the events that occur throughout the year, because it's extremely important. I'll conclude my comments with a quote by Frederick Douglass. "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men." And we have the obligation here as board members, as staff, as parents, as community members, and I appreciate the engagement, the conversation, the dialogue, the interest that has been placed on what we are doing in Pinellas County. I also encourage that if you have the time to mentor, volunteer, substitute, please join a great team of educators and volunteers that are working to instill a love for education and knowledge in all children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Ms. Meyer.
Yes, good morning and happy Valentine's Day to everyone here. In honor of Valentine's Day, I just want to share a very heartwarming story that recently happened here in Pinellas County. A teacher here in Pinellas County, an elementary school teacher, came to school recently and found one of her students' parent had actually cut the toes off of the front of his shoes because he'd grown out of them. And this teacher then went and bought this young man a new pair of shoes. And when she shared this story with some of her friends, it basically prompted a countywide shoe drive that is going on right now for students all across the county here in Pinellas. And this just has nothing to do, it's not district sponsored, but it is a grassroots effort to fill a need. And I just wanted to share because I think it's very heartwarming and such a wonderful display of kindness here in the month of February, the month of Valentine's Day. I'm not going to read all of the locations for drop-offs for the shoe drive, but it's for, preschool all the way to 12th grade. So if you're interested in that, I did share that on my social media. You can go there and see it if you're interested in assisting in that. And again, just a grassroots effort to fill a need. And I'm very proud of our community and how they step up and how we take care of each other. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mrs. Hine?
Thank you. I'm so energized to see everybody that's here today, and I'm also very energized by the engagement with our schools, certainly this year and in the last several years, realizing that what we teach and how we teach matters. So I really appreciate everyone here being engaged in our public schools. I do want to acknowledge the 5-year anniversary of Marjory Stoneman Douglas. That was and remains a very difficult reality. I want to thank Chief Williams, our Chief of Police, who works tirelessly. He and his team, thank you. I want to thank Clint Herbick and Dennis Russo and your team and that constant commitment to vigilance and being sure we have the very best systems and people in place that we can, should we need to respond to something like this. I thank you deeply. I also thank our folks who implement Sandy Hook Promise and our mental health counselors, because yes, we can harden schools, we can have police, we can be ready to respond, but the most important thing we can do is figure out how to get people not to want to kill people, especially adolescents. And we see what's happening in our adolescent population today. So I would ask our community, I know our teachers work very, very hard at this every single day, and I would just ask your support in creating a world and in creating an environment that our adolescents feel at home, included, welcome, happy, supported, have a place to go and talk to people when they are struggling or questioning. This is up to all of us. It's up to all of us to create that world every single day. So I wanted to take a minute to acknowledge that, and thank you again for all the work that's done every day. It's been a week in PCS, that Evening of Excellence, 130 teachers with all the top 10s and the Ed Foundation, the work that they do. There was a fashion show through the Dali Museum at Neiman Marcus. Jonathan Ogle was there. A number of students from across several counties applied and worked with professional fashion designers and seamstresses to both create and make their fashions come to life. And they had that fashion show. It was unbelievable. We had a ribbon cutting of a mural at Highland Lakes Elementary School with Principal Crows, the academic challenge I got to step into, which was amazing. Math Counts was this weekend. It's a middle school math competition. It was held at USF St. Petersburg, Pinellas, and Hillsborough counties. I'm proud to say that John Hopkins Middle School took third place in that, and I would like to thank Mrs. Wolf, the math teacher there, for getting that team together, and all of our teachers and staff who volunteer for these extra clubs, whether they be academic or otherwise, our sports teams, our music, our arts, and that's bringing those student experiences alive. And it's just been a week of them, and I've really enjoyed being able to witness them. Every time I am in our schools, I am with our students, I am with our teachers, it brings affirmation of the excellent work that is being done by our teachers and our support staff. So thank a teacher, thank a bus driver, thank a support staff anytime you see them out in our community. And I join Mrs. Edmond in encouraging our community to engage with our schools, volunteer, mentor, maybe become a substitute. I am proud to be engaged with Pinellas County Schools, and I think you would be too. Thank you.
Any other words? Now, I do want to make a couple of quick comments myself this morning. Thank you to all the board members who spoke. You all shared some really amazing stories and amazing experiences that we've all had throughout Pinellas County over the last couple of weeks. I've had the distinguished privilege of being involved in a couple of really inspiring and wonderful activities. A couple of weeks ago, I was honored to work under Miss Edmond, actually the Habitat for Humanity, in building the 800th home. And she's on the board over there. She has incredible leadership, and we had that incredible opportunity to speak with leaders from throughout our county, elected officials, to come together on a project to work for the members of our community. I've also was so inspired, taking away from the Evening of Excellence, to see our top 10 finalists and the incredible stories and the journeys that they have each and every day in Pinellas County Schools as our leaders who inspire our children every day. And then to top off my week, Mrs. Hine and I were at the ribbon cutting, and I just want to highlight this a little bit because I thought it was so special that Highland Lakes Elementary, the community really came together to put together a mural for the school, to beautify the school, for the surrounding communities, and so much work went into creating that mural. Hundreds of hours, hundreds of families participated in the creation of this beautiful mural that they put on the front wall of the school. We were lucky enough to be invited to the ribbon cutting. And what they did this year that is so incredible too, and I just want to give a shout out to Principal Crows, is that they created a leadership type academy at that school to instill the core values of leadership in the students. They're really cultivating the leaders of the future and helping our students to prosper. And it was a beautiful ribbon cutting where students had an opportunity to speak about their experiences and what leadership means to them. And I took away a lot of really wonderful things. And one of the quotes that was used that day, that I'm going to speak it today because it was so inspiring. And it said, this was about students and leadership, and it said, "It takes a noble man to plant a seed for a tree that will someday give shade to people he may never meet." And I thought that was incredible. One of the students brought this to the ribbon cutting, and I thought it was such a deep and beautiful quote for students who are aspiring to be leaders in the community one day. With that, I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today. Mrs. Woodford, do we have any? Can we please review the board requests? I know there were board requests.
I noted 4 potential future workshop topics: adult education, transformation zone, exceptional student education, and educational alternative services.
Yes, that is what I heard as well. All right. Thank you. Is there any further business for this meeting? Seeing none. Before we perform our board meeting evaluation, we will adjourn this meeting and move to the public participation portion of our meeting. That we are adjourned. We are now moving to public comment on general business of the district. Please note that the views and comments of public speakers are their own, not endorsed nor sponsored by the school board or the district. We cannot ensure the accuracy of statements made, but will review concerns that are raised and take appropriate action, which may include clarifications or the referral of speakers to the proper staff member for assistance. Thank you, Mrs. Hawk. Would you please introduce our speakers?
Yes, Madam Chair, board members, Mr. Hendrick, we currently have 22 speakers. The first 2 are Charles Hinton and Dr. Gregory Garvin.
As I look at the board, I see diversity. As I look in this room, I see diversity. We live in a diverse county, a diverse state, a diverse country, and of course, a diverse world. I listen to the superintendent speak, I listen to the attorney speak, and I think we need to recognize that, of course, there's choice in our decisions. The law provides you with discretion. I'm concerned that one parent who's a private school teacher with some kids in the public schools has one child who, like my child, is a student at Palm Harbor in the IB program. You have discretion. You, as the board, are the trustees of the educational system, but you're also the stewards of our society. It is important for me, as someone with probably about the bluest eyes in this room, to recognize that my view shouldn't be the only view. As we watch those P-Tech students, I don't think any of us think, well, I hope you don't get your hands dirty. I hope you don't have a broken car to fix. We don't want to offend people. I get that. We don't want to provide our children with pornography at school. I get that too. But if the standard's going to be that it doesn't make anyone uncomfortable, then we're not doing our job of preparing children for what is obviously a diverse world, and unfortunately, sometimes is an ugly world. Today, on the 5th anniversary of the massacre to the south of us, I think it's important for us to realize that we have to provide our children with different viewpoints of different people, maybe people we don't even like. But when we think about, oh, we want to prevent bullying, we have to realize that part of that is providing our students with very diverse views. Some stuff that's going to make us uncomfortable. Yes, we don't want to hear things at public meetings, but that's not what we're talking about. Different counties are going to make different choices. We have to make the hard choices for our kids, even if it might make us uncomfortable. Even if some parents would say, I don't want my kids reading that. In the case of the bluest eye, that parent had the option to say to that kid, no, you're not going to read that book. And the teacher would have said, yep, that's exactly right. You don't have to read that book. You can read another book. There was a choice there. When we talk about saying to our teachers and our librarians that, oh, you can pick, but remember, if you pick wrong, if you offend one parent, then you may be committing a felony.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Excuse me. Excuse me. To those here this morning, we ask that you please do not applaud or make audible support for speakers in fairness to their time and in fairness to all the speakers present this morning. If you would like to show support, we can use jazz hands in the building, but we ask that you please don't make audible noises or audible certifications of support. With that, we're going to continue on with our speakers, so not to interrupt their time, and please be respectful of all those that are here to speak today. We appreciate your respect. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, I'm Dr. Garvin. I'm a pediatric volunteer at the Clearwater Free Clinic. We have a pediatric clinic. I was here several years ago. I remember a few familiar faces, but there's been a number of different people, which is why I returned. Also, I had the opportunity to meet the new superintendent. The Clearwater Free Clinic is the only free pediatric clinic in the county. Some interesting facts. On average, 585 people a day move to Florida. A number of them are children. If you look at national averages, 50% of those children are on some type of state insurance plan. Now here it's Medicaid or Florida Kid Care. If a child moves from another state, we've been working on this, and they move here and they're on Medicaid or their CHIP insurance. Florida statutes, for 90 days, they are uninsurable. Where are those children? They should be coming to our free clinic. We are the safety net for these children. Also, we're all happy about May 11. May 11 will be the end of the pandemic. We can have jazz hands. But a sad thing about that is during that time period, there was a 20% increase in Medicaid and CHIP insurance. Only about 3 to 4% of those are CHIP insurance. It's been said that when that occurs, up to 20 million people in this country are going to lose their Medicaid status. So I'm trying to just get the word out that we have a free clinic. I have a couple of medical students here with me from Nova Southeastern. I have a number of students that work with me at the free clinic. We have all kinds of positions. They're helping me on a pediatric awareness initiative. And we're hoping that you as the board are now informed that there may be some children that are going to fall through the cracks. So if you can help us in any way, I have to give a special shout out to Dr. Cho and Sarah O'Toole. Sarah took our electronic flyer and put it on Peach Jar for us. And so every school website has that ability to get to these parents. It's a difficult task. And I'm here to say, we're here. I'm a pediatric. We have four pediatricians there to work and a nurse practitioner from Johns Hopkins, all very qualified. So that's all I'm going to say.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to speak today. And I did bring some flyers, and I'll leave these up here, I guess.
Bring them.
Take them over there.
The next two speakers are Maggie Troutwine and Taylor Troutwine.
My glasses, sorry. And I brought the wrong glasses. Can Taylor go first so I can get my glasses?
Hello, my name is Taylor Troutwine, and I'm here today to speak on the issue of the censorship of literature and the banning of the bluest eye. As Dr. Seuss once said, the more that you read, the more things you will know. And constantly throughout this meeting, you guys have been talking about the bluest eye and claiming that it is harmful to students. What's more harmful to students is not being allowed to read and not being able to gain knowledge of diverse cultural and global issues because we are not allowed to read. With this, as educators and supervisors, the school board should be supporting and nourishing our knowledge of global issues and culture instead of hindering it by banning books such as The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison. Without literature that contains topics deemed as heavy, students are forced to ignore the harsh realities of the world instead of learning from them so history does not repeat itself. In The Bluest Eye, the climax comes when Pekala experiences sexual assault. With this, unfortunately, it is a harsh reality that does happen to many minors, especially in the state of Florida. It really is an epidemic. But without being able to read about it, our students are remaining uneducated. This book focuses on drawing attention to the harsh realities of the world and describing how children and young minds are able to overcome adversity. And we should instead be focusing on that instead of one singular event that takes up a page and a half of the book. With this, not reading literature like this leaves students unaware of potential harsh realities of the world that they could experience post-graduation. And not reading leaves students uneducated about current global issues as such, which we should be using and learning about to take change and encourage change, especially in Pinellas County. With this, I mean, if I hadn't read books such as The Metamorphosis by Franz Kafka in school, I wouldn't have learned anything about economic issues and social issues as such, and class differences. And the same goes for The Bluest Eye. There are so many more diverse lessons than just the one harmful thing that the school board and the district has chosen to focus on. With this, I would like to call an action to all of you. I would like for you to think about the consequences of banning or supporting the removal of these books and this literature such as The Bluest Eye. And next time, I would really, really appreciate if everyone here could focus on what's important for the greater good of Pinellas County scholars and the greater education of everyone, instead of one parent and one child who are motivated by religious and political means when calling for this book to be removed. Thank you.
And I'm obviously Margaret Troutwine. I'm the parent of that wonderful child right there. As you can see, she's not a child. She's 17 and a half years old. On top of that, I've worked for this county for almost 20 years. Mr. Hendricks, Dr. Hendricks, you were one of my teachers at one point. Okay, I put my time into this district to teach these kids, to have them become critical thinking members of society. I want my kid to be able to see all aspects of life. I want her to make the decisions for herself. She's smart. Who am I, or who's some other parent, to tell my kid what she should or should not read? That's my choice as her parent. And that parent took away my right. And as our lawyer stated, they didn't follow the process, so why did you? Why was a decision made without input from the parents of this district, or the students of that school, or the students of that class, or of that teacher, Mr. Theron, who is the best teacher I have seen in this district for teaching AP courses, AP Lit. And I come with 20 years of experience to say that as an English teacher. So for me to hear what has occurred, to see the censorship, and yes, it is censorship by definition from the ACLU, by definition of Merriam-Webster, it is censorship. What have we become when we start censoring our children? This parent not only went to you, the district, but she decided to put herself out there on YouTube, okay, to tell her reasoning as to why she went after this book. Her child went after, and not went after, but sent text messages for his reasoning of why this was done, telling them that if they want to read adult content, to do it on their own time. I want my children guided by professionals like Mr. Theron. I want my kid to have guided instruction, be taught lessons, how to actually dissect information, not read it on her own and just make wild assumptions. Okay? Well, obviously, she's smart enough to do that. But she has a right to get the education that I moved to this county for, that I taught for this county for 20 years, that I decided to go home and take care of my own children, because I had never done that in 20 years. She was 13 before I took her to school. I did that for everybody else's kids. Let Mr. Theron, let Pinellas, or let Palm Harbor High School, let these kids learn the way that they should learn, by the national AP courses, not by one woman's choice. And that's just wrong, absolutely wrong. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Prisha Sherdawala and Nancy Velarde.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, School Board of Pinellas County. I am Prisha Sherdawala. I am 17 years old and an 11th grade student at Palm Harbor University High School. I am here today to express my disappointment and frustration with the recent decision to take The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison out of circulation in Pinellas County schools. As a student, I value literature as a tool for shaping our understanding of the world and helping us navigate complex social situations that may present themselves in life. I believe that The Bluest Eye is a work of literary significance that addresses important themes such as race, poverty, and trauma. As an immigrant and a proud citizen of the United States of America, I see the bluest eye as a narrative that uplifts the voice of marginalized individuals in the United States. Removing this book from circulation is doing the opposite of uplifting these voices. Additionally, the removal of the book from circulation in Pinellas County Schools is a disservice to our education by denying ourselves an opportunity to understand the impact of systemic oppression and exploitation through the perspectives of other people. The Bluest Eye provides us with a unique and powerful perspective on these issues, and by taking it out of circulation, we are closing ourselves off from this important learning opportunity. While I do acknowledge that specific content in the Bluest Eye may be uncomfortable and difficult to read, it is for this exact reason I believe it is valuable to be analyzed in a classroom setting. Even though others may not want to read this in public, as young humans, some of us who will be adults in less than a year, we are capable of engaging with these challenging ideas. Through a classroom setting, we can more effectively process this content. As a result, the removal of this book from Pinellas County Schools is a denial of a necessary opportunity to learn and grow. While I understand the district and the school board of Pinellas County must respect the law, I urge them to consider a reevaluation of the literary merit of Toni Morrison's The Bluest Eye. Removing the book from circulation not only continues the marginalization of minority voices, but it also denies young humans, such as myself, a valuable learning opportunity. And this is a disservice to us and our education. Thank you.
Wow. Good morning. A few weeks ago, I shared with you the PCTA PESPA vision for Pinellas County Schools. The major thrust of that vision is that Pinellas become a truly collaborative district with mutual trust between the leadership and employees. The establishment of this kind of structure will lead to not only the raised job satisfaction of your employees, but also the elevated results of our student scores. This has been proven time and time again in other organizations, and PCTA believes wholeheartedly that it will be successful here. And happily, we're well on our way to this new and innovative model. The employees of Pinellas are a diverse group and may have varying opinions about many topics, but they uniformly believe in the necessity of a strong public school system which focuses on student success. And they further agree that this is the most important work one can do. The closer we get to the joint decision-making through team-driven schools, the sooner we will see a resurgence in the joy of learning and laughter in the classroom, all of which will result in successful student scores. We must understand that 100% student success means sending fully self-actualized people out into the world to seek higher education or employment, and not just satisfactory percentages on standardized tests. No employer cares about those scores, nor do colleges take much of an interest. They're necessary only to us. The sooner we focus on the child and their individual needs, the sooner we will see the test scores we desire. Our educators are among the best in the state. Give them the freedom to teach as they have been trained to do by nurturing the individual. When decisions are made without the consultation of the involved employees, all important trust is damaged between the leader and the follower. When trust is damaged, the confidence of the employee is eroded, and they will no longer feel free to innovate and create the magical classroom that best serves every student. I have been asked what the district can do to demonstrate the trust that they feel for the employees here. Here's my answer. Ask their opinions when considering programs for their schools. Discuss possibilities before implementing. Elevate through evaluation rather than criticize, and support their union representation. Give them autonomy in their classrooms and allow for creativity. Robotic pacing guides and canned lessons are killing the joy of learning. Trust your teachers to bring it back to life. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Andrew Larson and Hannah Hippolito.
Good morning. My name is Andrew Larson, and I'm an International Baccalaureate student at Palm Harbor University High School. I'm a IB senior, which means that last year I read The Bluest Eye as a part of our curriculum. So naturally, when I heard the news this year that it was being pulled from the curriculum, I was heartbroken. I immediately after decided to start organizing, along with several of my peers here, in order to challenge this decision. We decided that the best way to get our voice heard was to organize a student protest, and so we did. Fortunately, before that protest on campus, myself and several of my peers had the opportunity to meet with district officials responsible for the decision, including Associate Superintendent Dr. Evans and Area Superintendent Dr. Gonzalez. And I immensely appreciate the opportunity I had to meet with those two officials and understand the district's point of view in the decision they made. However, I find it egregious. The decision was based off of Florida law. I understand that we are beholden to that law, and we as a school board must follow that law. However, there are provisions within the statute to allow work of literary merit. The Bluest Eye obviously qualifies. It is a Pulitzer Prize-winning novel. Its place in the curriculum is clearly deserved. I believe that the decision to ban the book was made hastily and without the proper procedures. I understand that we got a briefing on that today, so some of my fears with that were alleviated, but I still believe that there are protocols which we should uphold. And furthermore, it was made without all of the proper information in order to make such a weighty decision. When I met with the associate superintendent, he revealed a distinct lack of knowledge in the way that the book is taught in our curriculum at Palm Harbor University High School. He was not aware that students were encouraged to skip the 2 pages which the book was banned for. I asked specifically why the book was banned. It was for 2 pages in a 300-page novel, and those 2 pages are encouraged to be skipped by the teacher due to their sensitive content. The associate superintendent was unaware. He also seemed unaware of the book's content in general, displaying a lack of knowledge of the themes of the book as they relate to the Black identity in America. The protest that was organized by myself and my peers was largely successful. Hundreds of students took time out of their day to show their support for the novel, students on all sides of the political spectrum, and particularly students who read the book, something that those who made this decision clearly did not. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Hannah Ippolito, and I'm an IB senior at Palm Harbor University High School. I stand here today along with my peers to represent the concerns of the students regarding the district's removal of The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison from our classrooms. Since the decision first went public, I found myself in conversation with my peers, parents, school, and district administration to discuss the implications of such actions. I am here to ask that the school board reconsider the district's decision to remove The Bluest Eye from Pinellas County schools. I read The Bluest Eye by Toni Morrison in my AP IB English class last year. Having grown up in the United States as a person of color, I related to the protagonist Pacola's struggles with American beauty standards and racism. I felt seen by this book, by my teachers for including it in our curriculum, and by my peers in the deep dialogue we would have about its themes. Though Pacola's story is tragic and disturbing, it is also real. Its reality is why it is so important. After meeting with Dr. Gonzalez and Dr. Evans, it is my understanding that the district had to make a quick decision regarding the matter and were instructed to err on the side of caution. I also realize that Morrison's novel contains very sensitive and upsetting content. Even still, I don't believe the district is justified in removing it. Greater care should have been taken in the review process of The Bluest Eye before its complete removal from our curriculum and schools. Students who have studied the book academically and the community should have been given the opportunity to weigh in. Regardless of the challenges of interpreting instructions from the state, our district administration and school board owe it to the students to protect their best interests and education. Simply taking away books some find upsetting does not do this. Reading and studying works like The Bluest Eye allow students to reflect on society and their own lives. By removing this book, we only contribute to the United States' long history of silencing and diminishing the voices of minorities and the oppressed. There is irony in banning books when so many of the greatest works of literature warn us of the repercussions of doing so. We cannot avoid uncomfortable stories, because how will we become better than our past unless we talk about it and read about it? And with that, I want to leave you all with a quote by Morrison that reads, "Don't let anybody convince you this is the way the world is and therefore must be. It must be the way it ought to be. And we get to decide how it ought to be." The banning of books has consistently been used by those on the wrong side of history to censor others. Right now, we have the opportunity to fight for the right side of history. So please, I urge you all to call for the reconsideration of the district's decision to ban the Bluest Eye from Pinellas County Schools. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Linda Lerner and Eliseo Santana.
It's great to be here. I have to remind myself, I'm here. Your first vote, I almost was ready to vote, but I did not. I really have much gratitude that I've been able to be involved with some boards and committees related to the district in our schools. One is Arts for a Complete Education Committee. Arts are well and alive in Pinellas County, and we really need to keep it that way. Jory Spencer and Jonathan Ugal are supervisors. They are active on that committee. And Jeannie Reynolds and Sue Castleman, who had been supervisors for many, many years, also are active. And please come to the breakfast. It is a celebration of the arts on March 8th. So please, put that on your calendar. It's a wonderful program, and it's at the James Museum this year. I'm also active on the Stavros Career Education Board. I've probably been on that board, I don't know, over 20 years from the beginning. And I was on the board when Career Academies was an idea. That was in probably the early 90s. And now we are not only a leader in the state, but a model for the country. And I'd like to thank Mark Hunt, all the teachers, the foundation, for the wonderful progress we've made and continue making. Two things this board recently did, I need to commend you. One is, I couldn't get it on the web, but I'm sure it will be there, is to have an audio of the workshops. For the whole time I was on the board, I tried to make that happen, and I didn't succeed. But that's where much of the work is done. Because sometimes, the thought is, how can you vote on that? Well, you've spent hours and hours discussing it. The other one is public comment. I was so disappointed when that was not broadcast. And as one speaker at your last meeting said, please put that in policy. And I'm going to tell you, please put that in policy. Because when I was on the board, there were attempts to stop that. And we are the forum for our democracy, obviously. And I am appreciative of everyone being here. I watched the meeting last meeting and the public comment. We have to listen to each other and hear each other. And school board meetings, public comment, and other parts.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
What an honor to follow a lifelong champion of our children and a pro-education person. My name is Eliseo Santana, and I am the president of the League of United Latin American Citizens, otherwise known as LULAC. The council that I'm the chairperson of, the president of, is the largest council in the United States and is here in Pinellas County. We're just waking up from being dormant because of COVID. I've been a resident of Pinellas County since 1980, so that's over 40 years of being here. So I've seen a lot of the transition, a lot of the change. I am the father of 4 adult, I was going to say children, but they're adults now, and the grandfather of 13. My children, all of them attended public schools here. Matter of fact, Carol Cook was our champion of here, being in the school board during the time that my children were attending school, and it was a very there's always changes and there's always challenges that happen. Out of my 13 grandchildren, 9 of them attend our public schools in Dunedin Elementary, Dunedin Middle, and Dunedin High School. I have to tell you that I am a Puerto Riqueño. I'm a Hispanic Puerto Riqueño. And one of the things that we have is that we have role models that I encourage our children and our community to look after and to follow these role models. And when I start looking at censorship that is being imposed upon our community here, I am very concerned. And I'll give you an example. Roberto Clemente is a hero for the Puerto Riqueño. He's an example. He died trying to feed the community in Nicaragua. He was a role model that we all adhere to. And I was shocked to hear that an individual flagged that book in Duval County and was removed from the library so it could not be presented. Let me tell you, this is an example how one individual can adversely affect it is important when we do this panel or whatever it is that we are doing to evaluate books, and some of them I would agree that are probably not appropriate, but be cautious and be careful that you are approaching a culturally sensitive issue and something that our community needs to prosper. Stop censorship for the sake of censorship. Empower our teachers.
Thank you. Our next 2 speakers are Mark Clutho and Shelley Page.
Mark Clutho, Largo. Well, the way you have the speakers on the TV screen, you're still doing a pretty good job of censorship. Really good job. Yeah, this 4.3, recognition of the Energy Star certified buildings. What a joke. Look at that new building up there at Clearwater High School. You don't even get the building oriented right. And you're going to talk about Energy Star? I mean, the study, climate change is worse than we thought. You people are stinking liars. And then why is carbon dioxide so bad for the planet? CO2 is the highest level in human history. And you people are bragging. It's disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. Yeah, here's the prototype here, the template, the proper ratio and proportion for what the building should look like, the right albedo, the proper placement of glazing. Yeah, and then we have Death Santis. You know, this is Black History Month. Don't be surprised if he does away with the Black History Month. A sick individual. Sick individual. Talk about censorship. You know what that is? That's doing away with history. Yeah. A bad thing, that history. Can't have that. Poisoning the children's minds. But you people ignoring science, that's the worst.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Shelley Naram Page, mother of Rachel Herring, a previous junior at Osceola Fundamental High School. On Halloween 2020, my only daughter, Rachel, was killed in a watercraft crash in Indian Shores. The vessel was driven by a classmate of Rachel's at Osceola Fundamental High School, Gavin Johnston, who was impaired while driving. He was eventually charged with vessel homicide, a felony. Rachel's father and I made a conscious effort to keep him out of prison in court proceedings, regrettably. Fast forward, in the winter of 2021 and eventually in spring 2022, Gavin Johnston tried out for and made the Osceola Fundamental High School varsity lacrosse team and eventually was made co-captain. Infuriated, I reached out to the principal, Mr. Michael Bonet, and he advised he was following the Florida High School Athletic Association guidelines. I went further, past him to Mrs. Woodford. I went to Dr. Grego, who was eventually retiring, and on to our now state representative, Bernie Jacques, all pointing to the FHSAA. I reached out to George Tommen, the executive director of the FHSAA, by phone call, and he explained it was county and school level decision. No policies are in place for felons in the high school system in Pinellas County. In speaking with other athletic parents and athletic directors, I've found out several schools in Pinellas County allow felons, varsity players in athletic sports, to play. As extreme as players wearing ankle monitors while they're playing their sport. We need a change in policy regarding felons in sports, and I plead this becomes a board workshop and agenda to end felons in high school sports. I would like to read from one of the guidelines that's given to the school board and to the athletic directors and down to coaches, written out in the FHSAA paperwork. One of the guidelines is that participation in extracurricular athletics is a privilege, and it can be suspended or revoked by the school's administration when deemed necessary. Wouldn't that be a felon playing sports? That's all.
The next two speakers are Elizabeth Lowenstein and Nicole St. Ledger.
Which one of us shall go first? Hi, I'm Elizabeth Weinstein. I stand before you as a parent of an IB student at Palm Harbor University High School today to speak in defense of Toni Morrison's novel, The Bluest Eye, and why it should not be banned in our high schools. This novel is an important piece of American literature that deals with complex themes such as racism, classism, and beauty standards. It exposes the harsh realities of life for Black Americans and challenges the reader to confront the uncomfortable truth about systematic oppression. This novel presents an opportunity for students to engage in thoughtful and critical discussions that promote empathy and understanding. Banning it and similar works are a form of censorship that restricts intellectual freedom and undermines the very principle of education. High schools serve as a platform for students to explore different perspectives and ideas, and it is essential to have a diverse range of literature that reflects the experiences of all people. By banning books, we deny the students the chance to learn and grow, as well as the right to access information and ideas. Students ultimately cannot be shielded from the harsh realities of life. The Bluest Eye does contain visceral content, but it is necessary to expose students to the world that they will encounter beyond the classroom. Shielding them from the reality of racism and oppression only hinders their ability to navigate the world as informed and educated systems. The novel's powerful themes of systematic oppression, social injustice, and the complexity of human relationships make it a valuable contribution to the literary canon. But if it's banned using the same benchmark, then we must also address access to several versions of the Bible that are currently available in school libraries, which also include graphic depictions of rape, incest, and murder with the sole purpose of indoctrination. Truth is only a threat to those who benefit from banning lies. Banning books is an egregious violation of our fundamental right to free speech and expression. It is a blatant attempt to censor knowledge and suppress new ideas. Suppressing knowledge is a disservice to the future leaders. Young adults need to learn how to engage with controversial topics and gain a greater understanding of the world around them. By taking away these opportunities, we are not only hindering their education, but also stunting their personal growth. I urge you to stand up for the freedom of speech and fight against the banning of books in high school. Let us encourage the next generation to think critically and challenge the status quo and not be afraid to explore new ideas and knowledge. Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Nicole St. Ledger, and I would like to talk about parental rights and books. As the mom of 4, I have exerted my parental rights over what my children read a lot, probably a lot more than they wished over the years. When my 4th and 2nd grader came to me saying, "I want to read the Hunger Games series." Nope, Mom said no, although they have both read the entire series multiple times since then. When my 15-year-old wanted to read The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Also, you need to wait a little bit. It's a little too much right now. Now, not surprisingly, in both those situations, got a little pushback. Hey, someone else I'm friends with is reading it right now. And I said, well, you know, I'm your parent. I get to help oversee, and I can say yes or no. That child, their parent gets to tell them what they're allowed to read or not allowed to read. That's parental rights. I oversee what my children read, not someone else. And I'll say, I read what my children read. I have since they were little, still do today. That when books are removed and banned or have a change of status, that is the exact opposite of parental rights. These decisions are being made that directly impact children and their education by people who have separate agendas without knowing, understanding, or caring about individual children and their educational needs and strengths. The crazy thing about the people connecting book bans to parental rights is saying that teachers are trying to indoctrinate or affect them is that it's not happening. I know of several situations here in Pinellas County where teachers have reached out to parents knowing about individual or groups of children's emotional situations that they're going through, saying, we have a book coming up. I need you as the parent to look at this and say, do you want your child to read it, or do you think we need to provide something else? One situation, the group of parents reviewed and said, yeah, and the teacher has helped our children go through those books. In another situation, it was reviewed and decided, no, maybe this child shouldn't be reading this book right now, and the teacher provided another book for them to read. That is what good education looks like, with teachers and parents working together because they care about the children and what they are learning. When books are removed from the classrooms and teachers are not allowed to teach.
Thank you. Our next 2 speakers are Eliza Lane and Van Ostrand.
Good morning. I have with me today the transcript of the training that has been mentioned for library media and instructional materials. And I intend to prove that the banning of the bluest eye in our PCS curriculum is in fact a violation of these guidelines. First of all, the bluest eye was banned, to my knowledge, for pornographic content. Pornography is defined in these guidelines as the depiction of erotic behavior intended to cause sexual excitement. That is not the purpose of those passages in the bluest eye. It is to shock and horrify readers into empathy for this character and to help us to realize the flaws in our own society, not for arousal. It's not pornography. Secondly, there are 3 criteria that a book must meet in order to be considered harmful to minors and removed. Among these are that adults, the adult community, must find the material to be patently offensive to prevailing standards. This means that extremes should not be relied upon. In my personal view, communities who believe that our school systems are Marxist indoctrination camps qualify as extremes and therefore should not be relied upon. Finally, obviously we have discussed the literary merit, and a book cannot be removed unless it is without serious literary, artistic, or political merit. Toni Morrison is a Pulitzer Prize winning author. That's not the case. Additionally, the degree to which material will be supplemented or explained by classroom instruction is also a guideline. The people who made this decision, I had the privilege of speaking with Dr. Evans and Dr. Gonzalez. The people who were making this decision did not have that information. They didn't know that we were allowed to skip the passages. They didn't know what types of conversations we had. They'd never sat in that classroom for a lesson. They didn't have that information. They made this decision as uninformed individuals. Finally, the educational purpose of the material and the specific needs of the school population are to be considered. This was again not the case. IB is a magnet college-level program. We should be reading and absorbing college-level material. And that was not considered when evaluating the maturity and appropriateness of this content for our students. Finally, it is also included within these guidelines that inclusion of books should be based on the interest of readers. Look around you. Look how many of us are here today. And think about how many of us are in their classes, doing their due diligence to their academics, but supporting us from afar. There is interest here. There is advocacy. Please listen to us. Please reevaluate the decision of the district to remove the bluest eye from our curriculum. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Van Ostrand. I'm a parent with 2 kids in Pinellas County Schools. I'm here to advocate for testing and interventions for dyslexia in elementary schools. It is estimated that at least 1 in 10 people have dyslexia, and using the 10% figure for our purposes here, in my daughter's class of 22 kids, at least 2 are likely dyslexic. There are 4 classes of 5th graders, so in all likelihood, there are at least 8 kiddos with dyslexia. My daughter is one of them. She's a smart cookie, so she hid her disability well. She's great at math, and she remembers facts and details like a machine. She was getting by because she was memorizing words, but in the 2nd grade, she hit a wall. We didn't know what was going on. Her teacher suggested we try and get her a 504 so she could get extra time on tests, but we thought, why? What's wrong? By Christmas break, we learned that she was getting teased about her trouble reading, and she was anxious and depressed. She was evaluated by the school for the 504, but they were only able to tell me that she was anxious and depressed. They suggested impressions of ADHD, but that didn't track. I was told they couldn't diagnose anything legally, and I should get an outside evaluation if I could afford it. It was $2,500. Interestingly, it was performed by someone who works for the school system and does these evaluations as a second job. My daughter was diagnosed with a specific learning disability, or SLD, in reading and also in writing, so dyslexia and dysgraphia, disabilities recognized by the ADA. And I thought having that information would help the school understand what my daughter needed. And since legally the school must provide a free, appropriate public education through an individualized education program that is designed to meet a child's unique needs and from which a child receives educational benefit, she would get help. But she didn't get an IEP. She didn't get any interventions. Why? She's doing well enough. There's no law that says if your kid isn't failing, they don't get help, but that's how it works. She got some accommodations, but many of those I had to fight tooth and nail for. Every gain my daughter has made in reading has been due to private tutoring that is outrageously expensive, and I always think we can barely afford this. What do the people who can't afford it do? Nothing? Their kids just never learn to read? Maybe never even find out why? At the very least, any student who can't read and write proficiently should be evaluated by a qualified instructor at the school, and children with SLDs, whether failing or not, should be receiving intervention so they can not just pass, but meet their true potential. Not helping these kids means that we will never be able to see past their disability to help them reach their true ability. So again, I'm here to advocate for testing and appropriate interventions. Thank you for your time.
The next two speakers are Dr. Carol Mickett and Leslie Bowman.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Carol Mickett from Tarpon Springs. We all have the same goal, namely to protect our children, to prepare them for a life in which they thrive. The question is, how do we best achieve this? From my experience as a university professor, the answer is to expect the best from them and to challenge them, and remarkably, they will rise to the occasion. I distinctly remember a student of mine when we were reading Plato who raised his hand and said, "Dr. Mickett, this is really hard." I was so happy. I said to him, "Now you are on the verge of learning. If it were easy, what would be the point? Why would you be here? What would be your challenge?" As I recall, that young man got an A in the course, and that was not easy in my class. Young people are very resilient. They want to be challenged. Otherwise, they will just get bored and learn nothing. We as educators would not be doing our job to prepare them for a full life. We must trust our children. We need to listen to them. For example, Eliza Lane, who I read about in the Tampa Bay Times, said, "You don't learn and grow if you don't put yourself in an uncomfortable situation." In other words, if they are not challenged. The good news is that in the Pinellas County Public Schools, we have trained professionals, our teachers and our principals, who are here to guide our children through their education. They are trained to prepare our children for their lives after high school, whether our children go to college, tech schools, get a job, or embark on raising their own children. Whatever path our children choose, we need to prepare them. Our teachers are trained to do this, to educate our children so they are aware of the myriad of things they will encounter. So there will be few surprises as possible. We want our children to thrive, but yet we are all mindful that along the way they will encounter challenges. Let's make sure that they are prepared for what they will encounter. Let our trained professionals do their job, and let's trust our children to meet the challenges.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Leslie Bauman, and I'm going to go off the script that I prepared because people have said the things that I wanted to say so much better than I possibly could. So the only thing that I want to say to you is that I'm begging for you to take leadership. We've been told that there are laws that we have to live up to. When laws are bad, people in leadership positions stand up and challenge those laws. And they work with the people who made them to help them understand the errors of their ways and I encourage you to do that. I beg you to do that. Thank you.
The next two speakers are Robert Kent and Mary Seiske.
Hello, I'm Robert Kent. I wanted to talk about The Bluest Eye from the perspective of someone who learned about it in their IB curriculum last year. I can say with complete honesty that had this book not been a part of my curriculum, I would be much less equipped to face the academic challenges I face today. The IB program and the assignments that come with it, from oral examinations to timed essays, require students to be equipped with a global perspective gained through the study of varying, often controversial perspectives. The Bluest Eye brought a reading experience unlike any other and showcased themes, ideas, and messages that would be impossible to find through reading any other work. This uniqueness makes it especially valuable for drawing examples and connecting to the real world, skills and tools that are necessary for the success of any student, whether or not they're in the IB program or any other magnet program. Not only is the banning of this work a violation of district protocol, as was stated by Eliza Lane, but it's a shocking display of immaturity and academic ignorance, and it's a massive step backwards for our county and for our students. It's ultimately an attack on students who are curious and have a desire to succeed and understand their world. I saw a lot of presentations earlier in this meeting that really showcased the academic success of our students, and it seems like the members of this board really care about that. And I think if they want to show that they do, they can take one step by reversing the banning of this book and allowing students to learn and to grow by themselves. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mary Seiske. I'm a retired educator and one who has taught advanced placement English language. And I would like to, first of all, apologize because I wrote a speech, but so many of the things that I wanted to say have been covered, and I don't want to go over that over and over again for you. But I do want to make some points, and I'm going to try and include them here. One of the things, by the way, I'm a grandmother of a kid in this class, okay? And I have two more coming up that I hope will be in this class. You know, of course, that International Baccalaureate is the most challenging academic program that you have, and kids make big sacrifices to be in this program, as do their teachers. And they embrace the concept of respectful, rigorous exchange of ideas. They're proud of their maturity and the maturity that there is required that they bring to the table. They expect to attend some of the most competitive colleges in the world. They're admonished to welcome all points of view and treat all participants' contributions respectfully, but no such respect was given to them in return. Their input was not requested, and in fact, they were called Marxist puppets, which, by the way, I want to remind you that you all are Marxist puppets too. Just let's keep that in mind. There's something that I don't quite understand, and I know this is not a give and take session, but in the interest of clarity, it's my understanding that because this parent did not follow the procedure for challenging this book, that's why it did not remain in place for the school year. Is that correct?
You are correct in that this is not a give and take session. And so we don't want to get into back and forth.
But all I want to know is my understanding of that
I can
correct?
speak with you after that, or you can speak with Mr. Hendrick.
Well, if it is correct that because she did not follow the procedure, therefore you didn't need to follow the procedure, what's to prevent somebody out here from following the procedure and formally challenging it and allowing it to continue for the rest of the year? Because as we all know, changing a curriculum like this in the middle of the year is so disruptive to the classroom. It's very, that teacher has to replan an entire segment. So if that's the case, can't we just challenge it? keep it in place, and go on. I'm sure you know that the surest way to get a kid to read a
Thank you.
I'm down.
Yes, ma'am. The next two speakers are Suzanne Seen and Sarah Robinson.
Good afternoon. I'm Suzanne Seed. I've been very involved in the Pinellas County Schools over the past 10 years as a volunteer, mostly. And I just want to say, first of all, that I am so impressed with these students and the way that they are discussing a very important issue. So kudos to all the teachers at the IB program, because you all are amazing. I'm actually here to talk on a different subject, and that's buses. I'm very concerned that we're here in February and late buses are still such a huge issue. You know, students, it's February and students are still getting to school so late. Sometimes they're missing first period altogether. You know, students are on buses in the afternoon, in the case of my child, sometimes 1 to 2 hours because they have 3 routes combined coming from Dunedin Middle CGS program. They're missing activities, they're missing time at home, they're exhausted. It's not okay. So I've called transportation numerous times and I always get the same story. We have a bus driver shortage. Late buses are also a safety issue in my opinion. Students are left unsupervised at bus stops for long periods of time when the bus is late. This results in opportunities for bullying, fights, and many other issues. Repeatedly missing instructional time due to late buses has far-reaching consequences. I'm especially concerned about students who are economically disadvantaged. Often these families don't have reliable transportation nor flexible schedules to be able to run their kid to school when the bus is an hour late. These kids rely on buses. And if it never comes, if it comes very late, or the bus has to pick up 2 extra routes, they're missing instructional time. And guess what? That's not fair. That's not supporting all our students' education. Additionally, many of these kids get free breakfast at school. Are they still getting that if they're showing up at second period, or are they going hungry to lunch? The kids in our community deserve better. Also, bus drivers, they're maxed out. They're working too many hours, they're covering too many routes. It's not sustainable. Pinellas County bus drivers need to be paid more if the county expects to attract and retain drivers. According to transportation, what they told me is on average, they get about $16 an hour. This is substantially less than someone with a local commercial driver's license would make doing another job. What's stopping a driver from getting their CDL through Pinellas County and then leaving to take a job that pays more? When that happens, it's a financial loss for the county and for our kids. Additionally, communication with transportation is a huge problem.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I come here today out of concern for the recent banning of Toni Morrison's classic book, The Bluest Eye, in particular, and the tide of ignorance sweeping our state and county in general. As a graduate of Pinellas County Schools, as the mother of 2 graduates of Pinellas County Schools, as a citizen, taxpayer, and voter, I ask you to please do what you can to champion reason, literacy, education, and enlightenment against that tide of ignorance. So at Palm Harbor, despite the class being an AP class, which is essentially a college class that no one is forced to take, the wishes of just one mother who didn't even have the respect to fill out a form resulted in the removal of an important book. That seems like a ridiculous explanation, by the way, for ignoring process. But how is it that that one mother thinks that she can keep all the children of all the other mothers from reading that or any book? What gives her the right? We hear parental choice and parent rights a lot these days, but which parents? Whose rights? I also want to say that I understand where this is coming from. We have a governor with extreme views and high political aspirations who is increasingly authoritarian and vindictive. We have a state government that for many years has no respect for local control and follows lockstep behind him. And I know that he would probably, despite each and every one of you being elected by Pinellas County voters, not hesitate to abuse his power and remove you from office if you anger him too much. I'm not asking you to do that, and I know that there are laws that you must follow, but I ask you to not be afraid of doing what is right. As you know, over history, there have been many unjust laws. I believe these new laws attacking our schools in the name of freedom are unjust. I take this very seriously because my father was a 22-year-old soldier in World War II, and in May of 1945, he helped to liberate a concentration camp. He suffered from PTSD for the rest of his life because he witnessed the horrors of fascism. Before the Nazis burned people, they banned books. Please stay true to the values that inspired you to run for school board. Support teachers and administrators who are fighting so many daily battles. They have too many. Now they have to contend with these stupid censorship laws. Please fight for the rights of all parents. And we need more history and more African American history.
Madam Chair, there are no more speakers.
Seeing there are no more speakers, we thank each and every one of you for attending. Thank you also for heeding my request and being so respectful to our speakers. Just want to say thank you to the students who listened really, really well, and thank you for being here today.